Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Waha Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the harvest. It's a beautiful image of a harvest here on the screen. And this is the finished product. We want to go into and break down the order of the harvest, and the three different crops we're going to focus on is the barley, the wheat, and the grapes. The barley is the 144,000. They're tossed in the air. This is the heave offering, the wave offering, the first fruits. The wheat, the enemy has sown tares amongst the wheat. So there's a separation that has to take place, and it's beat on the threshing floor. The grapes are the heathen nations, and of course we know they'll be trodden down in the winepress. The barley, the wheat, and the grapes. So without further ado, let's go into the lesson and we'll get into it. This chart that I created is going to help us track the harvest, okay? Because you can't plant anything or grow anything unless you know the seasons. And so as you can see in this chart, you'll see the seasons are there at the top. The fall, the winter, the spring, the summer, and then the end. The fall represents sin, the fall of man. The winter represents death, because the wages of sin is death. And then you see the spring is life, right? And then you have summer, which is the tribulation. And then the end, which is God's wrath. The entire story is wrapped up in the seasons. And another thing we're going to find out also is that this entire story is also being told in our feast. And you'll see down at the bottom, at the very beginning, under the fall and under sin, Adam's fall. Then you see the seed line, which of course would have been carried down through Abel, but Cain slew Abel, and it went down through Seth and on down the line. And you see where it says barley sown, because the barley is sown in the fall. And this is indicating that we were foreknown by him from the beginning, the first created spirits, okay? Then you see the wilderness, which is the first Exodus, represented by death, or the winter. The winter and the wilderness are synonymous, okay? You know, the scripture says, pray that your flight be not in winter. But then as you go through the wilderness, then you see the next thing is spring and life. And that's where the barley is actually harvested in the spring. You'll notice under there I got Passovers to first fruits, and that the barley is tossed in the air. And during the spring is when the wheat is sown, okay? And then going over to the summer column under tribulation, you'll see the great multitude, the 1/3. The trumpets to tabernacles, beat on the threshing floor, wheat and tare harvest. All right. Also, right in between Passover through first fruits, and between trumpets through tabernacles, right in between the spring and the summer, you'll see spiritual power, or Pentecost. All right. And we know Pentecost comes, or the Feast of Weeks, comes 50 days after the first fruits, or 49 days in a day. All right. And then you'll see also the second Exodus, which is indicated there between summer and the end, which is the wrath. And under the wrath, you have the lake of fire, the heathen judgment, the grapes being tread in the winepress. This is the grape harvest. And then you got the kingdom. All right. So this chart charts the entire process of fall, winter, spring, summer, and the end, which is the sin, the death, the life, the tribulation, and the wrath. And from Adam's fall, where it says Adam to Moses, that's from Adam right there at sin and Moses right there at death in the middle of the wilderness. And then from Moses to Yahushai, which Yahushai is the life, right? So from the fall to the spring is the Old Testament. And from the spring going forward is the New Testament. Or better yet, because we didn't have any testaments in our scroll. Let's just say the fall to the spring is BC, before Christ. And going forward from spring is AD. All right. In this chart, it basically is encapsulating all of the time from the fall to the end. And, we'll see as we go into the precepts that this is the order of the harvest and the judgment at the end. So now, with no further ado, let's go get the precepts and we'll begin. Leviticus chapter 2. And when any will offer a meat offering unto the Lord, his offering shall be of fine flour, and he shall pour oil upon it, and put frankincense thereon. And he shall bring it to Aaron's sons the priest, and he shall take thereout his handful of flour thereof, and of the oil thereof, with all the frankincense thereof. And the priest shall burn the memorial of it upon the altar, to be an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord Yahweh. And the remnant of the meat offering shall be Aaron's and his sons. It is a thing most holy of the offerings of the Lord made by fire. And if thou bring an oblation of meat offering, baken in the oven, it shall be unleavened cakes, of fine flour mingled with oil, or leavened wafers anointed with oil. And if thy oblation be a meat offering baken in a pan, it shall be of fine flour unleavened, mingled with oil. Thou shalt part it in pieces, and pour oil thereon. It is a meat offering. And if thy oblation be a meat offering baken with the frying pan, it shall be made of fine flour with oil. And thou shalt bring the meat offering that is made of these things to the Most High. And when it is presented unto the priest, he shall bring it unto the altar. And the priest shall take from the meat offering a memorial thereof, and shall burn it upon the altar. It is an offering made by fire, of a sweet savor unto Yahweh. And it's interesting how it says a memorial to Zion, right? And that which is left on the meat offering shall be Aaron's and his sons. It is a thing most holy of the offerings of the Lord made by fire. No meat offering which ye shall bring unto the Lord shall be made with leaven, for ye shall burn no leaven, nor any honey, in any offering of the Lord made by fire. As for the oblation of the first fruits, ye shall offer them unto the Lord, but they shall not be burnt on the altar for sweet savor. So as you can see, the first fruits is not burnt, but the rest of these things are burnt to the Lord, right? As a sweet savor. It's like the first fruits is saved from the burning process here in Leviticus, the second chapter. Now let's go look and see in Exodus. Let's go to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. All right. And we're going to start reading at verse 10. It says, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye be come into the land which I give unto you, ye shall reap the harvest thereof. Then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. And ye shall offer that day, when ye wave the sheaf, an he lamb without blemish, of the first year for a burnt offering unto the Lord. And you know that lamb without spot or blemish is Yahweh Shai. Right? He is the first fruits of the dead. But this is also pointing to those spirits that he created from the beginning, the first fruits, which is the 144. This is the heave offering or the wave offering. All right. We're going to go look and get, now let's go get Exodus, the book of Exodus, right? We're going to get Exodus, the 13th chapter. And let's read from 13 from the top. It says, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast is mine. Right? Man and beast. And Moses said unto the people, Remember this day, in which ye came out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand of the Lord brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. This day came ye out in the month of Abib. And it shall be, when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, that thou shalt keep this service in this month. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread, and in the 7th day shall be a feast unto the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall there be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters. And thou shalt show thy sons in that day, saying, This is done because of that which the Lord did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that the Lord's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand hath the Lord brought thee out of Egypt. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in this season from year to year. And it shall be, when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, as he sware unto thee and to thy fathers, and shall give it to thee, that thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast which thou hast. The males shall be Yahweh's. All right. So as you can see, he's establishing the first fruits in all that they do, whether that be the crops being reaped, whether that be a meat offering, or when they finally come into the land, anything that exits the matrix of beast or man, right? Let's go look in Exodus, the 34th chapter. Quick. We're going to continue on this particular subject of the first fruits. Exodus 34 and 19. All that openeth the matrix is mine, and every firstling among thy cattle, whether ox or sheep, that is male. But the firstling of an ass shalt thou redeem with a lamb, and if thou redeem him not, then shalt thou break his neck. All the firstborn of thy sons thou shalt redeem, and none shall appear before me empty. 6 days shalt thou work, but on the 7th day thou shalt rest. In earing time and in harvest thou shalt rest. That's important right there, because we have to enter into his rest and not have an evil heart of unbelief like our forefathers did in the day of provocation. That's the spiritual meaning of the Sabbath. We need to rest as we approach harvest. And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks, of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. Thrice in the year shall all your men, children, appear before the Lord your God, the God of Israel. So it's 3 times in a year, right? In Pentecost, and actually starting in Passover, and then in Pentecost, or the Feast of Weeks, and then also at the ingathering at the end of the year, which is trumpets, atonement, and tabernacles. right? Thrice in the year shall all your men children appear before the Lord your God. All right. Now that appearing before the Lord is also puts me in the state of mind of appearing around about the throne in Revelation. Okay. But we'll get into those precepts when we get to that particular category of this lesson. The first fruits, or the barley harvest, or the heave offering that's given to the priest belongs to the Lord, and all the firstborn male that enter the matrix or exit the matrix of man or beast belongs to the Most High. All right. Now let's prove that this is the 144,000. Let's go get this. The first fruits in Revelation, the 14th chapter. Revelation 14:1. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne. Who? The 144 did. And before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000, which were redeemed from the earth. They were redeemed, right? These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto the Most High and to the Lamb. So as you can see, the 144,000 is indicated as the first fruits. This is the spiritual connection and the meaning of the lessons that he was teaching us in the Torah about the first fruits. Everything's a similitude of the things to come. The scripture says in Romans, the things that were written aforetime were written for our learning. Verse 5, in their mouth was found no guile, for they were without fault before the throne of the Most High God. Now them being without fault is like that lamb without spot or blemish, right? And there was no guile, no spot. Now you notice up here it said that they had a mark in their foreheads, right? Their father's name was written on their foreheads. Let's go get that precept in Ezekiel right quick so we can see what that mark is. This is Ezekiel, the 9th chapter, in the 4th verse. And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem. And you know Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. And set a mark on the foreheads of the men. Didn't the scripture say all the men? Okay. So the 144,000 did not consist of women. Set a mark on the forehead of all the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others, he said in my hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have ye pity. So this mark in the foreheads, let's go get that. As you'll see, is an exemption from judgment. This is an exemption from judgment. This is Tav, right?
Strong's H 8420. Tav. Tav.
All right. A desire mark as a sign of exemption from judgment. All right. So these men are marked to escape the judgment that's coming. And we know that judgment is the summer. That's the right before the wrath. You know, the judgment is the tribulation and wrath. But he said he would save a particular people from that hour of temptation. Let's go get that in Revelation chapter 3. And this wasn't said to all the churches. All the 7 churches in Revelation weren't given this diagnosis, okay? This is Revelation 3 and 10. All right. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world. That means 2/3, that great multitude and the heathens. It's going to come on all them to try them that dwell upon the earth. But see, these men are going to be spared. They're going to be redeemed. They're going to escape from this hour of temptation. Let's go look in the book of Malachi real quick. Malachi 3, right? And verse 16. And it reads, Then they that feared the Lord spake often one to another, and the Lord hearkened and heard it. And a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared the Lord and that thought upon his name. Do you think the 2/3 are thinking on his name? And maybe not even, some of the 1/3. You may have some of them that still need some kinks worked out. Some of them may still be calling on different names, or they may have different doctrines thrown in with it. Some of them may not even be awake at this point. All right. In verse 17, it says, And they shall be mine. Now, didn't he say the first fruits was his? It belongs to him. Everything that opens the matrix shall be mine. And they shall be mine, saith the Lord of hosts, in that day when I make up my jewels. And I will spare them as a man spareth his own son that serveth him. Then shall you return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth the Most High and him that serveth him not. So as you can see, there's a group that are his, and that is the first fruits. All right, as we see here in Malachi and also in Revelation. Now let's go to the book of Revelation and finish it up on this first fruits category. Revelation, the 7th chapter. And everywhere where you see the 144 mentioned, in the spotlight of judgment getting ready to happen, the Most High sending his arm, Yahweh Shai, to come and deal with this place, you always see a snapshot picture of the 144 and then the rest. You never hear it spoken of together. It's always separated, just like here in Revelation, the 7th chapter. Verse 1, And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. Now we just seen that seal spoken of in Ezekiel, the 9th chapter. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, until we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Okay, so these are the men that were sealed in Ezekiel, the 9th chapter. And then you'll see here in verse 5, it's going to list in verse 6 all the 12 tribes, 12,000 out of this tribe, 12,000 out of that tribe. Then when you get down here in verse 9, it says, After this, key word meaning after. This is not all at one time. After this, I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations, kindreds, and people, and tongues, stood before the throne, and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. And we know this is because we were scattered into all nations, and we would look like and speak like all nations. This is not the other heathen nations. And this class is for people that are on a higher level, okay? Some of the Israelites that's just coming into truth, y'all need to stick to the milk, okay? This is meat. But this is not for all the other nations. This is for the Israelites that are scattered in other nations. This is that great multitude, that 1/3 that's going to make it through this, okay? This is 2 different groups of people. Let's go to the Apocrypha right quick to prove that even more. Let's get the Apocrypha. All right. We're going to go look at Salakia, let me bring it out. And 2nd Ezra, we're almost there, chapter 13. So this is 2nd Ezra chapter 13 and 1. You're going to see the same picture. Now we saw in Revelation the 14th chapter, at the top of it, you'll see where the 144 standing on Mount Zion with Yahushua, having their father's name written in their heads. And as you read down that chapter, towards the end of 14, you'll see Babylon has fallen. So you got the 144 standing up top, and then you got a bunch of chaos going on afterwards. Same thing in Revelation, the 7th chapter. You see the 144 on top, and everything being held off on all destruction until they're sealed. And then you start seeing a lot of judgment come, right? And then there's, after this, that great multitude, all right, that showed up. Now here we are in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. And it says, and it came to pass after 7 days I dreamed a dream by night. And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, a man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, you notice he keeps saying after. There's a sequence going on here. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. But, and that's a big but, I beheld, and lo, he had graven himself a great mountain. Now, we know mountains are indicative of kingdoms. This is a great mountain, and flew upon it. Now that reminds me of Yahushua appearing on Mount Zion over in Revelation the 14th chapter with the 144,000. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempest. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest. Now we know it's going to be thermonuclear weapons, it's going to be chariots in the sky, and the Most High going to be hitting them with laser beams, all that together. And fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Afterward saw I the same man come down from the mountain, and call unto him another peaceable multitude. And there came much people unto him. Some were glad, some were sorry, and some of them were bound, and other some brought of them were offered. Then was I sick through great fear, and I awakened and said, Thou hast shown thy servant these wonders from the beginning, and hast counted me worthy that thou shouldest receive my prayer. Show me now the interpretation of this dream. Okay, so now let's look at the interpretation. For I conceive in mine own understanding, woe to them that shall be left in those days, and much more woe to them that are not left behind. For they that were not left were in heaviness. Now I understand the things that are laid up in the latter days, which shall happen unto them and to those who are left behind. Therefore they are come into great perils and many necessities, like as these dreams declare. Yet it is easier for him that is in danger to come into these things than to pass away as a cloud out of the world, and not to see the things that happen in the last days. And he answered unto me and said, The interpretation of the vision shall I show thee, and I will open unto thee the thing that thou hast required. Whereas thou hast spoken of them that are left behind, this is the interpretation. So these are the people that are left behind. He that shall endure the peril in the time hath kept himself, in that time hath kept himself. They that be fallen into danger are such as have works and faith toward the Almighty. These are the ones who are left behind that are fallen in danger. They have faith and works toward the Almighty. Know this, therefore, that they which be left behind are more blessed than they that be dead. That's right. There's going to be a lot of people that's going to be ran through. 2/3 of our people going to die. But that 1/3 is going to be in great peril. This is the meaning of the vision. Whereas thou sawest a man coming up from the midst of the sea. The same is he whom the Most High hath kept a great season, which by his own self shall deliver his creature. And he shall order them that are left behind. So he's going to deliver his creature and order them that are left behind. Verse 27. And whereas thou sawest that out of his mouth there came as a blast of wind, fire, and a storm, and that he held neither sword nor any instrument of war, but that the rushing in of him destroyed the whole multitude that came to subdue him. This is the interpretation. Behold, the days come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth, and he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on earth. And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. Why? Because spiritual power is going to take place, and the two realms are going to come together. That's the reason why you see Pentecost in the middle of those two on the chart, of those two set of feast. One realm against another is going to fight. And he's going to make us a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth. What do you use a threshing instrument on? On the threshing floor. We're going to get to that. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen which I showed thee before. And then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending. And when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have with one another, right? And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them, willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. But he shall stand upon the top of Mount Zion. That's proof that Revelation, the 14th chapter, is showing the same thing, that he's standing on top of Mount Zion. Next verse. And Zion shall come. That's that memorial we read about in the Torah on the first fruits. And Zion shall come and shall be showed to all men, being prepared and builded like as thou sawest a hill graven without hands, because this is the house that's built without hands, the tabernacle, right? And this my son shall rebuke the wicked invention of those nations, which for their wicked life are fallen into the tempest. So as you can see, that hill graven without hands is the elect of them, the 144. And the other people are kept who are left behind. They're being kept while the purging is going on. Same scenario, the 144, right? Up here in verse 6 and 7, and then a bunch of stuff that goes on afterwards. Chaos, right? Same thing we see in the book of Revelation. When we go to Revelation, we see the same exact thing. Revelation, the 14th chapter, the Lamb stood on Mount Zion with 144,000 in verse 1. And as you read down, you see where Babylon is getting ready to fall. Another angel followed with a loud voice. If anybody worship the beast in his image, or take that mark in his forehead or in his hand, you're going to drink of the wine of the wrath. Now you in tribulation, but you don't want to go over to that wrath. Remember the chart, which is poured out without mixture. Ain't no mixture. Into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Right? So this is all after. Here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Yahushua, right? So the scripture says here in verse 13, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Right, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. There's going to be a lot of people that die in that time. Why? Because this is the second Exodus. Remember the chart. The first Exodus, or the first portion under Moses, was the wilderness, the winter. This is where a lot of death took place then. You know, back when the Most High had to send serpents among them and open up the ground and swallow up some of them and made them wander around in the wilderness until they died off so he could only take in that remnant. A lot of death happens in the wilderness, in the winter, right? All right, so this is verse 14. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice unto him that sat on the cloud, Thrust in thy sickle, and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel came out of the temple, which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. Now, this second angel, the first angel was reaping the wheat. The second angel here on verse 17, let's see who he reaps. And another angel came out of the altar which had the power over fire. And he cried with a loud cry unto him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. You see that? And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of the Most High. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even to the horses' bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. So you see the examples of the harvest here. From the 144 at the very top of Revelation 14, standing on Mount Zion with their father's name, with that mark, that exemption from judgment, like a father sparing his own son. And then you see a lot of tribulation going on down here, where the Most High is actually on the threshing floor, taking care of business, right? Separating, weeding out that 2/3. Now let's go get that precept, because I want to bring that out right here. And this is, it's clear that, we talked about the first fruits, but we're kind of going into the wheat harvest now. Instead of the barley harvest is the first fruits, but we're kind of going into that wheat portion of that chart at this point, when we're talking about that 1/3 is still going through the fire, right? And this is Zechariah. Let me go get that. 13 and 8, right? And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the 3rd shall be left therein. That's the ones that's left. Remember what we read in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. And I will bring the 3rd part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them, and I will say, It is my people. And they shall say, The Lord is my power. All right. So that's Zechariah 13 and 8. Another precept that I want to bring out is Jeremiah, actually. Let's go get that right quick, because we're going to see something interesting in Jeremiah 51, which we know is, that's Babylon, the fall of Babylon, right? Jeremiah 51. And let's look at verse 33. All right. Wait a minute. Uh-oh. There go that battle axe and weapons of war. But let me go down here to 33. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It's time to thresh her. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. Y'all see that? Babylon is the threshing floor. We know that. This is the center of the focus. This is where the most of the tribes dwell over here in the land of the north. Babylon is the threshing floor. All right. And what is the Most High going to do? Back up here in Jeremiah. Let's look up here and get these bookmarked precepts right here. Verse 19. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. And with thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee I will break in pieces the young man and the maid. Now, all these old and young and all this just getting broken in pieces, that's just like Ezekiel. To the rest, he said, go through and smite, spare not, old and young, right? I will also break in pieces the shepherd and his flock, and with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman, his yoke of oxen, and with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. And I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroyeth all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. So the Most High, he's going to use us through that spiritual power. He's going to make us a new, sharp, threshing instrument having teeth. Spiritual power is coming in between the Passover and the tabernacles, right in the middle. And he's going to when that enemy comes in like a flood, we know the scripture says that, what is that, Isaiah 59 and 19, that he raises up a standard against him, right? Now let's go look at Isaiah 41 right quick. This is the wheat harvest. Beat on the ground, getting spiritual power, showing out. Jacob shall be a fire, Joseph shall be a flame, and the house of Esau shall be for stubble, right? All right, so let's look here in Isaiah 41, and let's see, 15. Boom. Isaiah 41 and 15. Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth, and thou shalt thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shalt make the hills as chaff. Chaff, that's interesting. That's what comes off the wheat when you beat it on the threshing floor. And thou shalt fan them, and the wind shall carry them away. That's the exact picture of harvesting wheat. This is the wheat harvest. And thou shalt fan them, Salakia, and the wind shall carry them away, and the whirlwind shall scatter them. And thou shalt rejoice in the Lord, and shalt glory in the Holy One of Israel. So we're going to have some victory, all right? It's going to be scary. Jacob's trouble is going to be hard, but what does he say? He shall be saved out of it. And that's right. So we got the barley harvest thrown in the air. We got the wheat beat on the ground, and he's got to do some work because he's got to get some of these Negroes out from among us. Let's go get that and look at the picture of that up close in the book of Ezekiel, the 20th chapter, right? All right. Ezekiel 20 and 33, I believe. Okay, yeah. Ezekiel 20 and 33. As I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, surely with the mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. And I will bring you out from the people and will gather you out from the countries wherein ye are scattered, with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith the Lord Yahweh.
And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bonds of the covenant. And I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me. And I will bring them forth out of the country wherein they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh. You see that? The purging, the passing under the rod, the purging out of the rebels.
All right. The rebels have to be purged. Let's get another precept on that in the book of Amos, 9th chapter, and the 8th verse. Let's start at verse 8. Behold, the eyes of Yahweh are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it
from off the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith Yahweh. Now, when he says utterly destroy, I mean he ain't going to destroy all of them. And we read over in Zechariah 13th chapter, the ratio. 2/3 are going to be destroyed. 1/3 is going to be brought through the fire, right? Verse 9, for lo, I will command and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake or prevent us. In that day I will raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof. And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom, and all of the heathen, which are called by my name, saith the Lord, Yahweh, that doeth this. So, he's doing this so we can possess the heathen, and that's the grape harvest. And we can go over here and look at the precept on that back here in Revelation, the 14th chapter, where we got down here at the bottom, where he said, told that other angel, right, that had the power over fire. Key word fire, because the second death is coming by fire, right? The first death by water, the flood, the second by fire. And cry out with a loud voice, with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. That first crop of slaves. Salakia. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trodden without the city, right? Where we get that from? Let's go get the precept. Y'all know where I'm going. In the book of Isaiah, 63rd chapter, right? Who is this coming from Edom? Didn't he say so that we may possess the remnant of Edom? All right. Who is this that coming from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in my anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garment, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. So the Most High Son, Yahweh Shai, is treading the wine fat. These are the heathen from Edom, so that we may possess them. So in total, we have the first fruits, the barley harvest, the wheat, this beat on the threshing floor, right? But there's going to be what you call a turn in the battle when spiritual power comes. And then those 1/3 are going to be brought through the fire, and they're going to have a standard raised up and be turned into sharp threshing instruments. And the Most High, his Son, the angelic host, The 144,000, the 1/3, are all going to enter into the kingdom, along with the grape harvest, the heathens that will serve us, that will survive. This is the picture. All right. Let's get a couple more precepts that I think is just, something we should bring out, right? Proverbs chapter 10, verse 5. He that gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame. That's right. Summer is the harvest, but whoever's asleep, this is damn shame. All right, let's go to the Psalms, chapter 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly. And, hopefully that means you ain't in IUIC or ISUPK or GOCC or one of these other camps. Nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Most High knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. And that should sum it up. Psalms chapter 1. The righteous will make it, the ungodly will perish. I hope this lesson was edifying to the brotherhood. I look forward to your input. I'm going to put the chart back up so y'all can take a look at that on the way out. All praise and glory be unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the brotherhood. Shalom.